Hey, how's it going? And today I'm going to show you how to make a kind of plasma storm type thing. And I was inspired to do this out of a 2018 volumetric nebula. I think this is what that is. So this is pretty easy to get going. We're in the perspective view and layout, and we're just going to go to item, add a null, just so we can just leave it called null. And everything we need to do is right here in the properties. So if we go into down here under properties and we go to type, we're going to go to volumetric, and then just some basic settings here. We're going to switch this to 0.1 100 millimeters. So we're going to zero this out here and zero that out there, and then our texture is going to be non-pyroclastic, and you can put 50 here, although we're going to change this and a 2 there, and that's it for our settings here. This isn't animated yet, so that's one of the things that I ran into on this particular effect was I can create the plasma storm no problem, but then there was a question of how to best animate it, and I don't know that this is going to be the best way, but it is just one way to animate it. So that's all our settings here. Then we just have to go in here to edit nodes. Okay, so for this we're going to use turbulence, and there it is, and then we're going to need to use multiply, and then we're going to use curve. And then we'll just go through each of these, and then, oh, we need a gradient too. Okay, so we're just going to go through these pretty quick and then hook everything up. Okay, so for turbulence, okay, so we're going to change the color here to 200. 200, tab, 200, tab, 200. And go, okay. And then for these is 0.5, we'll put the contrast at 50, frequencies at 12, everything else stays the same. Oh, and we'll put coordinates there. And then the next one is the gradient, and we've got some, we're gonna start here, leave that at black. We're gonna put one about 1/16 of the way down. And this is a specific color, but you can play around with these. This color is going to be 000, tab 047, tab 191, kind of a bluish, lighter bluish. And then the next tab is going to be about 2/3 of the way down, and this color is another specific color. It's going to be 255, tab 062, tab, and 207. Like I said, you can use any colors you want on this. And then the last one is all the way down, and it's just white right here. So that's easy. That's all we need to do. For our multiply, we're going to put this B over here to 2. And then the last thing we're going to do is our curve. Okay, so for our curve, just going to click right here to make a keyframe. And we're just going to put one right here, kind of at 0, 0 there. Then we're going to put a keyframe about 1.5 and 7.5, like right there. Then we're going to put another keyframe about 0.5, 0.4, like right about there. And then we're just going to put one more keyframe right around 0.9, 0.9, like that. So your gradient should just look like about like that. And that's all we're going to do. And then all we have to do is just hook everything together, and hopefully we'll get this right. So for alpha, alpha's going to go in here to input. It's also going to come over here into texture. And then, let's see, our color is going to go into input here. And the alpha is going to go into A, and the result is going to go into emission scale. And then the color here is going to go into the emission. And that's all we have. Now, if we come here, let me close out all of this. Let me match my view here. And let's switch this to VPR. Let me kill the backdrop. You end up with something that looks like that. Okay, and now we can zoom in on this if we want, like that. And that's a real kind of plasma-y looking thing. By playing with the gradient, of course, adjust your colors and make it look even more interesting. The last piece of this was to animate this. So how I would do that is I would come back in here to the, not the surface editor, but into properties, into edit nodes. If you come over here, some of these procedurals, some of the procedurals are animated. So I believe that ripples is one, underwater is one, And I think there's a smoke one here that's animated, an actual animated procedural. So what we're going to do is we're just going to double click ripples here. And then we're going to hook the alpha here into opacity. If you come into you can see how it's changing it, how it looks. If you come in here, you can play around with the wavelength, the wave speed, and just see what kind of effect you can get. The other thing that I like to do is this is way too high. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that down to a 2, the texture density. And then the amplitude too, if you increase it, it kind of makes it look a little bit more like plasma, maybe without so much color. So this is 3D. If we click here and orbit around, you see it's a 3D object. And then what you'll need to do is you'll need to move your camera, click on camera, push your camera into, let me do it this way. Let me go with the perspective here. And you push yourself into the cloud like that, camera wise. And then you can go back to the object here. Like I said, you can mess around with these settings here, playing around with the density and the amplitude to get it to an effect that you like. So don't be afraid to push these to their limit to get kind of the look that you're looking for. In my view, it is kind of a plasma look. Just play around with it, especially with the settings here in well, you can see like here, the wavelength, you can adjust it. You'll see it change here. The wave sources, the wave speed. It just all depends on what floats your boat, really. In the fact that it is kind of a plasma storm. So I'm going to try to render this out, and then at least you'll have a sample to look at. So that's all I had for today. I hope you found this helpful. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.